I bought a lot of books and I'm gonna talk about them. So, yep. Welcome to my first ever book haul. So thank you for being here. There's a combination of things happening here. First of all, this is several different trips and it's also like half a book haul and half a TBR haul, because some of these I've had for like over a year and I just have never touched because I don't know, I just bought other books that apparently were more important. I don't really know how I'm gonna do this because I haven't actually read the books. So some of them I know a lot about, some of them I just liked the cover, as you do. When they say don't judge a book by its cover, I think it's like that only works in a metaphorical sense, because all the graphic designers out there design, and those graphic designers would be horrified to hear us saying don't judge a book by its cover, because that's like what we're supposed to do. Where should I even start? I'm gonna start with this little wee stack. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Outlander, so I might kind of slip in and out of a Scottish accent. We're gonna see. First up, I bought a thriller, The Housemaid. I'm trying to figure out what kind of thrillers I like. Murder mystery, like straight up murder mysteries, I don't love. I like more of like a thriller murder mystery than like just like solving crimes or like school-based ones. I'll get to that later. But this one is about a housemaid for a family, and I'm gonna guess that there's something up with the family and that she like finds out something. I really love thrillers that are kind of like, ooh, like someone in a position that is like always kind of watching, like customer service workers, a maid, or you're kind of in the background and people don't notice you and then you get all the information because of that. I love that kind of thing. So, The Housemaid. And then I got The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and this one I heard about from all of you lovely people on BookTube. It's like a warm, cozy fantasy. I don't really love cozy fantasies all that much, but I think this has some sort of like romance going on, but it's like fantasy, so I'm gonna give it a try. A lot of like cozy fantasies, I just like can't get invested in the stakes. I just need there to be more stakes than there is. But that's kind of the point of a cozy fantasy. It's just not my genre of choice at the moment. But I think it's in this world where there's like witches, but the witches have to hide their powers and they can't like be in the same place as other witches. It's like illegal. She gets a message that she's supposed to come and teach these 3 young witches who are all together. And she's like, well, that's weird because I thought witches were not supposed to be together and they weren't supposed to like learn magic. That's really all I know. But I think there's like a little romance, a handsome, irritating stranger, put me in every time. And then I have a book I bought a long time ago. It's called The Book of Two Ways by Jodi Picoult. And I haven't actually read anything by Jodi Picoult, but I know that she is very popular. What I do know about it is it's like another split reality kind of book, and that's the kind of book that I wrote. Takes place in kind of a split reality. And so I wanted to read some in that format, but I am now like done writing that book. And it's very, very like contemporary adult, and I need to be in the right mood for that kind of a book. So I'm probably not gonna read it anytime soon, but this is on the TBR. Next up I have Pretty Baby, which, I took the $3 sticker off of it. See? You know how they have those racks of like $3 books? And I was like, what if they're really good and I'm just not getting them because they're not mainstream? I'm sure it's gonna be bad, but it's like a thriller romance. It's about this woman who returns home one day and finds a woman with a baby and like takes her in. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna see where this one goes. It sounds like an interesting premise, and the blurb says, suspense done well. Next I have my book of the month from January, which is The Writer's Retreat. I'm gonna be honest, I started reading this, I got like 10 pages in, and I just was not in the mood. So I put it down. It was there was a few things that happened right away that I was like, like certain like descriptions of certain things. There's this one, if you've read the first 10 pages or more of this book, I think we're thinking of the same thing, okay? And I'm just gonna let you But I think maybe it'll go beyond that. I think it's gonna be a little weird, a little twisty, a little gross. So I need to be in the right mood for that. A woman who's like a struggling writer gets selected to go on this like bougie writing retreat, but the author who's running the writing retreat is like kind of a psycho, or is like a thriller writer, and kind of things start happening and there's a death in this little writing retreat moment. And as a writer myself, I'm gonna read it. I don't know what else there is to say about that. Okay, next up I got Our Missing Hearts. Didn't even take the stickers off. Our Missing Hearts, which I believe is like dystopian, if I'm remembering correctly, like apocalyptic. Oh yeah, there's something where like all books are removed and this boy has been removed from his mother and it's like them trying to find each other. I remember hearing someone else talk about it and it sounded interesting, and it was 50% off hardcover. Not even in the 50% off hardcover sale that we all know and love. I'm excited about that. I've read a book by this author before, Everything I Never Told You, I think, and I liked it. I liked the writing. So I'm excited to dive into this one, hopefully sometime soon. Let's go up here. Okay, so next up I have the Mistborn trilogy. It actually came in a box set. This is by Brandon Sanderson. Do I need to tell you who Brandon Sanderson is? Is that where we're at as a nation? Brandon Sanderson writes like a crazy amount of books and is also very popular on like YouTube, and I think he's most popular for like being kind of a self-publishing icon, because a lot of his books are now like crowdfunded, which is really cool, and he like supports self-published authors and everything. And I don't really know much about this, but I know like people in my life of like, how have you not read any Brandon Sanderson yet? And I don't know, so I'm gonna read some. But I've just heard nothing but good things, so I'm excited to dive into this trilogy, hopefully soon. I know I keep saying that. I have Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I've read another thriller by this author, not The Paris Apartment. That's Lucy Foley. The Prisoner. I read The Prisoner and I listened to it on audio, and I've never been more angry at the end of a book. And it's not because of what happens at the end. It's because I was waiting for something to happen the whole book and it didn't, and I was full of rage. But it's one of those audiobooks I listened to in like one day. I have a problem with doing that. This is like a domestic thriller, I think. And I've heard that this is kind of this author's like main thing that they're known for. And I think it's like a domestic violence kind of thriller. It's also their debut. I do always love like a claustrophobic kind of thriller, or at least I think I do. They stress me out, but I think that's kind of the point. So Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Ooh, another thriller is The Likeness by Tana French. This one, it reminds me of this episode of Castle, and I love Castle. There's a murder, and the victim looks like identical to the detective, which like, obviously that would never happen, but like I'm here for the drama. And they figure out somehow that someone that this person was living with, they live in an apartment with like 6 people, is probably responsible. There's some like sus things happening over there. And so their plan is to like have the detective pretend to be this person. And again, feels like it's a very claustrophobic, like in a house kind of thriller. So I hope I like those because I've got a ton of them. Next up, I have The Grace Year. And this one I bought a long time ago, I think in the summer, last summer. Which was a while ago, because if you can hear the wind just rustling away, it is like March and we're having a snowstorm, but I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, The Grace Year, every 16-year-old is sent away for their entire 16th year into the woods. And then they return purified for marriage, so that's exciting. I don't know, I'm not in a huge rush to read this just because I kind of go in and out of YA. I used to read a lot of YA and then it got kind of trite. I would just know exactly what was going to happen. That's part of the joy of reading YA, but I wanted to be like surprised and get a little bit more gritty. Next up, I'm so excited about this. Not even because of the book, I'll explain. So this is the Air Awakens. It's 5 books of a series and it's all in one book. This is just like my inner nerd just like wants this. It's like 1,000 pages and there's 5 books in one. And I don't know what about that just like filled me with joy. I've heard good things about this series. I think this is the author who wrote like The Deal with the Elf King, which I have not read. I've heard that series mentioned like in like funny reading vlogs, but I've heard that this series is like unironically really good. So I'm excited about that. Just look how big it is. It just makes me happy. Just get your mind out of the gutter. You? I don't really know what it's about. I think it's your classic YA fantasy, enemies to lovers, girl lives in a library situation, maybe. And I haven't read a YA fantasy that I've really loved in a long time. That's kind of like big and sprawling. So I'm hopeful that I can get into it and love it. Okay, we're another stack down. There's a large stack right here. I don't know if you can see it, but we're gonna go through that. It's not gonna take very long because a lot of it's series. Next up, I have A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I got this book of the month. I don't even know when. I think it was one of the first ones I got. I think it's like a woodsy, culty kind of situation. And again, I think it's one I have to be in the right mood for, and I just haven't been. So whenever I feel the spirit move me to read a cult book, this will be first on my list. That's what I kind of like about getting a large TBR. I usually try to not buy a lot of books if I haven't finished everything I have, but I also like the freedom of being able to like read a book that I'm in the mood for and not just like force myself to read everything before I buy something new. I promise I don't have a problem. This is gonna take a little stack out of our, a chunk out of our something. I did bite the bullet. And I got, what is this book series even called? I literally have The Mortal Instruments. I got The Mortal Instruments, the first 5. I was gonna like buy all of the series, but then I was like, well, maybe we should just take it slow. Shockingly, I have never read The City of Bones, The Mortal Instruments, anything by Cassandra Clare, which it feels like I'm saying like I'm betraying the book community. I've been toying with the idea of this series because I know I'm gonna probably like it. I think the only reason I wouldn't is because like I feel this sense of hype about the series, and so I might be going into it with those expectations, but I'd kind of love to just like dive in. Like that's kind of what reignited the reading in me, was reading Shadow and Bone, which I'm actually like currently like literally right here. I'm watching it. I'm emotional. And that just like jump started like, oh my gosh, maybe I could like get into things again. And it happened with like Shatter Me, which I have feelings about, but like ACOTAR, you know, all the basic books that everybody loves, but people love them for a reason. So that's the reason I think I'm gonna love this series, but we'll just have to see if I do or not. Anyway, I've been talking too long about them. What are they about? I don't know. I was trying to think of what they were about and I have no idea. I think like angels and demons, shadow hunting. No idea what that is, but that's probably involved. I'm just gonna move on. Okay. Next up, I have These Hollow Vows and These Twisted Bonds. And I don't know why I got these books because I literally already know everything that happens in them. I watched Carrie Can Read, her like reading vlog of them that's very full of spoilers. It was a while ago, so I don't know, like, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what happens in them, but I know that, like, that information has been spoiled for me. But I started this book, I'm actually pretty far into it. Like 200 pages almost. And it's fine. It's not bad. I think knowing everything that happens in it probably isn't the best. But These Hollow Vows. It's essentially a mix of every YA fantasy trope you've ever read. Enemies to lovers, fae. Oh my gosh, my sister's been taken by the evil people. She's been sold into slavery and now I have to like pretend to ally with the fae royalty and like, oh, there's a blonde guy who's cute and nice at the beginning and then maybe he's bad. Like maybe the dark-haired evil one is actually good and my true love. The word mate might be used. I bought this so long ago. Like a year and a half ago, and it's Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and I don't think I'm gonna like it. Sorry, Janelle. I've heard it, like, reviewed so many times, and the review that people have of it is specifically things that I know I don't like in books, where it's just, like, long and beautiful words. no plot or like very little plot. And I think there's like a moment of my life where I'm interested in that kind of a book, and I'm waiting for the moment so that I have the best possible reading experience of it. Like, for example, I did not really love The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I didn't hate it. I thought it was a little too long, and I thought it was way too much like flowery description, and that's just like not what I'm reading for. So I have a feeling this might do the same thing. I think it's like a carnival, circus, magic, lovers. I think I'm going to wake up one day and feel like reading this book, and I'm going to wait until that day to read it. It might be years in the future, but that's what's happening because I don't want to totally hate it. Next up, I have The Guest List by Lucy Foley, another book I bought a long time ago. Oh yeah, it's like an island thriller, and I just have not been motivated to pick it up. I think it's very murder mystery, like Agatha Christie murder mystery-y. I'm just going to do this one at the same time, Nine Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty. I think it's also like a retreat thriller. This is like the third one that I'm talking about. It's just like very mentally taxing to like try to keep track of everybody. I'd like rather have a really emotional character-driven story than have to like keep track of like everybody's alibis for 300 pages. So that's often how I feel about these kinds of thrillers, but I don't think I've read very many of them just because like I'm afraid of doing the mental work of it. I'm hoping to get to these probably not this month. Sometime. Also, this book is so long. Thrillers should not be so long, Leanne. I also started reading Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. Could not get into it. Sorry, Leanne. Sorry, whoever produces that show. I can't. Sorry. Okay, here's a book I got from the used bookstore today. It is The Sentence. And I really just got it because it's so beautiful. It's about this independent bookstore in Minneapolis, which is like within 4 hours of where I live. It's this thing where a customer of the bookstore dies and won't leave the store, like haunts the bookstore. It's like a ghost story, but I think it's more of like a reflective contemporary in a bookstore. But again, I think I need some like punchy thrillers and YA romance, fantasy, drama, adventure, murder books to kind of go in between. But when I'm feeling cozy, relaxed, calm, contemporary, I'll pick this one up. Also from the used bookstore, I got this memoir called Brain on Fire. It was published in like 2012. And I was like not going to pick it up because it was old. But then I was like, I mean, it's still probably good just because it was published like 10 years ago. Oh my Lord. It's about a girl who wakes up. This is a memoir, so it's real. A girl who wakes up like in a hospital, like asylum kind of situation. And she can't move or speak. Oh my gosh, the drama. And the last things she remembers, she was like having this prominent career and she was like doing all these things and she was just living her normal life, and then she just woke up in the hospital. It's about like her descent into madness and like the trying to get a diagnosis, I think. But it's like this real woman's story, and it's pretty quick. So I'm hoping to get into that. I saw it. The used bookstore was having a great little deal, so I picked it up. We'll see. Still on my memoirs is I Still Believe, which is Jeremy Camp's memoir, who's like a Christian like singer-songwriter. And I saw the movie of this. Very corny, but like inspirational Christian movie. Then, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this book. It's called It's Murder, Don't You Know? It is a quick murder mystery with recipes. What? I don't know. I just saw this. It takes place in Minnesota. Like, cute little cozy mystery, like very Midwestern, very like recipes inside of it. So maybe I'll like make the recipes. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Then I have, okay, I'm so excited about this. I feel a little bad about it. This is what is this called? The Shadow Children by Margaret Peterson Haddix, the queen of our middle grade lives, this woman. These are the books that are like among the hidden, among the brave. And I remember that this book, Among the Hidden, was in my childhood library at my school. And I read it like so many times. And I never, like, it was one of those where, like, I knew that there were other books in the series. I wanted to read them, but, like, I could never get all the books at the same time. And so I didn't want to, like, keep reading the series unless I had all the books. And so I've never read the full thing, but they're each, like, this big. And I felt a little bad about it because it was the whole series for $12. I'm sure that there's, like, some, like, little boy or, like, 5th grade girl out there who, like, really wants to read this complete series, and it's in my bookshelf now. But I think, I don't know, on some Saturday I'll just sit down and read all, like, 6 of these little books. There's a 2-child policy, so you can't have more than 2 kids. And he's, like, the 3rd child, and he sees through the window across the way, like, T Swift, You Belong With Me music video energy. This, like, girl, where he knows that there's 2 brothers who live in that house, so he knows that she's a 3rd child, too. And they, like, become friends. And I feel like the stakes were pretty high, but again, I was in 5th grade. Okay, we're in the home stretch, everybody. These are all books that I did not buy recently. These are books I've had on my shelves for a long time, but I need to tell you about them, so maybe I'll get excited to read about them. This one, I know I will not. It is called They Wish They Were Us, and I'm very tempted to just donate this right now, because I don't think I'm going to like it. The tagline of this book is, "It's a miracle anyone gets out of high school alive." And it feels like it's like dark academia for children. Right now I'm listening to the audiobook of In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and I'm realizing that I really despise dark academia because they're just about horrible people doing horrible things, just horribly, and they're all horrible. And I don't really want to listen to you talk about how romanticized your perfectionist life is and about all these drug addictions. And I just, like, am not interested in horrible people doing horrible things in a school setting. Maybe it's just because I'm listening to that book right now, and, like, it's not that it's not a good book. I'm very involved and interested. And the vibe that this gives me is, like, murder in a school, everybody has secrets, breakfast club. Maybe one day I'll read it. I really don't think so. If you've read this and it's good, just let me know. Maybe I'll, like, actually care enough to read it. All right, next up, I have The Thursday Murder Club, which I think is about, like, a group of seniors trying to solve crimes, and they're, like, in a club where they solve crimes. And it's apparently, like, very British, and I don't think I'm gonna like it. I need to stop, like, thinking that. I think that's what's stopping me from reading a lot of these books is I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. How would I know? Maybe I'll do, like, a video where I try to solve the crime. Like, maybe that will motivate me to do one of these 8 suspects, all of them have secrets kind of a book. We're gonna see. I don't know what my hands are doing, so we're just gonna deal with it. Next up, well, you already know. If you're on this little YouTube app, you already know what this book is. I have it because everybody was reading it and I've heard good things, and apparently people cry. It's about some, like, video game designers who, I don't know, sad things happen to them probably. Heard mixed things. I've heard it's very, what is my arm doing? I've heard it's very overhyped. I don't know, I feel a lot of, like, reading anxiety, which I'm trying to get over because I want to just read for enjoyment and not for getting a certain number of books read. And it's not even that I feel this obligation to get, like, a certain number of books. It's more like I don't like the experience of being inside of a book for too long and, like, just, like, makes me stressed because there's all these other books that I would like to get to. I love that little dopamine hit that comes upon finishing a book. Apparently I'm a mood reader. I didn't really realize that until perhaps this moment. There's just a lot of other books I'm more excited about reading. And so maybe when I'm in more of a contemplative, reflective, ready to be sad mood, which I will get into soon probably, I'll read this. But it's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. No. It's okay. You can unsubscribe from that. If you see these bookshelves behind me, I think I bought these books before I bought, like, 90% of the books that I own right now. I bought it when I was in college. It's, like, the first time Book Talk ever convinced me to buy a series. It's We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars. And I started reading at a time when I had not read, like, fantasy in a long time. I had not read, like, new fantasy that I didn't already know the world of in a long time. And I was also, like, in my last year of school, and I was reading a lot of, like, things and writing a lot of papers and doing a lot of projects, and it was just, like, very busy time for my mind. And so if you've read this book, you know a lot of the language and, like, the names and stuff. But I just was not in a space where I could, like, read a fantasy that had, like, a lot of complex world building in it. And now I know that that's just how fantasy works. And the other thing is, I thought it was really slow. I think I got Let's see how far I got into it. It's still marked. Oh, I only got like 70 pages in. And I've heard that this book is really slow and this book is really good. And so I'd like to try it again. It's about the society where like women can't be hunters and women can't really do much, I think. And this woman is a hunter. She like provides for her whole village. And then it's like a dual perspective. So the other perspective is like someone high up in the government. Maybe he's the prince. He might not be. I don't know though. He's like sent to go kill her, but he doesn't know that it's a woman and doesn't know that it's her. He's like sent to go hunt this hunter because there's something about like there's this dark woods that nobody can go into, but she can go into it. And like it reminded me of like The Fold in Shadow and Bone. I know it's like an enemies to lovers story, and I've heard like really, really good things about it from people I trust. And I really hope I love it. It reminds me of like how in Shadow and Bone there's a lot of terminology you need to learn, like what is a Grisha and like what metallarchy and blah 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 blah, and all the different towns and all the different cities and all the different languages and the people and the powers. And I just like was not in a space to read about that at the time, so I put it down and I read all the Percy Jackson books. So I hope you enjoyed me talking about all the books that I have talked myself out of liking. Do you also do this? Do you also put in your head what kind of a reader you are and just like make all your life choices because of that? If I had to tell you what I'm most excited about, because I'm sure you're asking, is like what I'm going to read next. Right now I'm listening to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I'm also in the middle of These Hollow Vows. Yes, These Hollow Vows. This one. I'm in the middle of this. So maybe I'll finish this. I don't really know. I'm not feeling super inspired. But I know like soon on my list is Behind Closed Doors. And this like cozy witch book. I just need something warm and cozy after that horrible dark academia where everyone's a horrible person. I just need some people to be good. So I'm hoping that people in this book are good. So this one, Behind Closed Doors, and probably the Shadowhunters series or the Air Awakens. Thank you so much for joining me here. I love talking about books and I love talking about them specifically with you. So thanks for being here. Feel free to drop a little like, send me a little comment, tell me what books I should purchase or go to the library and get. If you have read any of these books, if you want to warn me about how horrible one of these books is or how I need to read it right away or how I'm wrong about the Night Circus, sorry Janelle, again, feel free to drop a comment down below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.